So I guess, well, I guess I'm, looking at kind of like, the future of technology, or I guess the future of healthcare, and, that future being focused on more patient-centric care. What are your thoughts on like the developing techniques of CRISPR and some of the, DNA programming, um, DNA programming, uh, advancements that we've seen to where now they're actually able to program someone's DNA into stem cells and grow partial organs, tissues, and things like that. I mean, do you think that that kind of a focus when you're just looking at individual genetic structures will be able to solve a lot of this, solve a lot of these contextual issues as well, because you have, I mean, an entire, you have an entire genome now that you can figure out, and you can have have an entire, um medical history generations at your fingertips.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's got incredible potential, the sort of personalized genomic medicine technology. Um, you know, I'm not a genetic scientist. I don't know what all they can do, but what I've read, right, is, incredible potential. What I am, right, is a social scientist. So what I worry about is who will have access to it, how will it be used, right? Will that potential be realized, and will it be realized equitably? I worry more about kind of the social and ethical implications than I do about the actual technological capability, because honestly, I think, with enough time and effort and brains, we're technologically capable of almost anything. In the last 50 years, the technological advances that have gone on are just so staggering that, we could get to wherever we want to get to. I just don't think we spend enough time thinking hard about where do we want to get to.
Right, right. Well, I mean, I guess, as a culture, that just becomes that's just because everyone's so focused on, instant gratification, right? In the financial sector, short-term profits. It's all about the now, now, now. We don't
Mm-hmm.
care about what the should. Well, we're so interested in what we can do. We're not interested in what we should do. Um, but I mean, you just talk about the advancement of medicine, right? In such a short period of time. I mean, I often think about
Yeah.
myself, absolute with only the bare minimum, right, medical training. If I were to go back, I don't know, back to the 1860s, I would be the most advanced mind in the field of medicine, right? And you think about
Yep.
what that'll be like 100 years from now down the future, and like it's, I don't know, it's really awe inspiring.
Yeah. No, I mean, even things like in our not too distant past, when I think about like the HPV vaccine,
Yeah.
right? We prevent cancer. We prevent a kind of cancer now. We figured out how to do that once, right? And not just screen for it and then treat it, like prevent it. That's amazing. And if maybe one day we'll figure out how to do that for another kind of cancer and so on. Some of those advances in medicine, and some of them seem like small things, but are just really enormous.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't know, you just think it like, I mean, everything, it takes place over time, right? It's, step by step.
Yeah.
But I guess let me ask you, so when we're kind of looking at, that advancement, I mean, what sort of breakthrough, actually, no, how do I phrase this? I guess we'll take a step back because, there's a better avenue to the question I wanted to get to. So you had mentioned
Okay.
COVID. And the one thing that I will say about COVID is that it has, I mean, for as terrible as it is, and for as awful the results that we've had around the world with this disease, in this country in particular, I feel COVID has exposed both the economic, social, and or social issues, as well as all the gray area and loopholes within our healthcare system, and how those things fail every day. And I don't know. I guess, how do you think COVID, and in the long term, is going to change our healthcare industry for the better?
Ooh, that's a great question. Uh, I mean, I think one of the things that COVID has forced us to do is a lot more telehealth. And I think that that's actually to the good. I think it's an important add-on to what we were used to doing, because it does make it possible for some kinds of visits and triage and things like that to happen more efficiently. And that is both good from an economic standpoint in terms of healthcare resources, and it's good because people might get in contact with the healthcare system sooner when they really need to know, like, okay, you got to go to the hospital, right? I had appendicitis a few years ago, and my wife diagnosed it. Basically, I was lying in bed. I'd woken up. I was like, oh, my stomach feels weird. I think I'll, take an antacid. I took an antacid. Like, this is still weird. It's like uncomfortable in a way that it hasn't seemed uncomfortable before. And so, she starts Googling for a while, right? Dr. Google. And she's like, there's, for what you're saying, you could have appendicitis. Maybe we should go have you, go to the hospital, have you checked out. And I'm like, really? You think appendicitis? And she's like, well, you're saying it feels really different. And I'm like, yeah. And so we go to the hospital, go to the ER, and lo and behold, I have appendicitis, and I've caught it so early that weird, uncomfortable feeling was all the pain I ever had. I mean, they put me on ketorolac when I got there, so I wasn't going to have any pain anyway. But, I had the best possible appendicitis anybody could have, right? I never really hurt. I just had a little discomfort. They're like, yeah, we got to get that out before it bursts. They do laparoscopic surgery. Like, the recovery time was fine. It was like an amazing healthcare story to me. And I think that, the telehealth enables that kind of thing more easily. So I think that's something that hopefully we'll see. I think the other thing that you mentioned is it has exposed, in a way that mass natural disasters do, a lot of fault lines in terms of who can get care and who can't, how easy is it to get care, where can you get care, what can the government do to help people, and when does that work and when doesn't it? And I hope that, people will go back the way they did after, say, the explosion of the Space Shuttle Challenger, and do a post-mortem and figure out, like, okay, this is not the last time we're going to have natural disaster, a pandemic or otherwise. What should we be doing to prepare? And, there were always been folks doing that, but they haven't always been taken seriously.
Right.